Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen. We're with Comic Hannah Hudson. Hannah Hudson, how the hell are you?
I'm alive and well.
Alive and well. Better than 2 weeks ago, right?
Way better than 2 weeks ago.
And enlighten the audience. What was 2 weeks ago? If you can say, I don't know if you can. Pre-pod, we were talking about it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's fine. I think my family knows that I have mixed feelings about them.
Because they stayed with you while they visited.
Yeah. There's holidays. They were all there. And like, I enjoy their company for limited amounts of time. I just not as long as they enjoy my company, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I feel that when I'm kind of in town. I'm like, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I hope they did too.
Yeah.
But we follow her everywhere. Hudlion.
Yes,
on Twitter and Twitter and Instagram. But also you have hudline.gumroad.com, which is some of your books, because I noticed that you also have a Patreon where it's patreon.com/hudline, and it says you have 144 unpublished poems to share. Over the course of a year, I will be releasing a monthly chapbook with 12 poems, each with unique cover art by guest artists. And then it says I'll be distributing them as PDFs exclusively on Patreon. So what I want to know is, are there books here on Gumroad? I mean, are there books here on Gumroad that are missing that we can only get if we were on Patreon? And how come? Meaning, at what point are you going to share them with the rest of the people? I mean, I know your Patreon people love you for that benefit, but what about everybody else who's missing out?
My MVPs, my most valuable patrons, they were my tester audience. So I was releasing Thread as sort of this monthly project where it's like 12 poems and art each month, and then on Gumroad I have Thread Unrolled, which is actually a collection of all 12 micro chaps into one physical book that I'm publishing and selling. I'm not going to say like hotcakes, but like it is selling many copies.
Good. Yeah. I mean, I look at some of these numbers and I'm like, I kind of would like that number, because I had a co-poet. Like, we did minimalist. It was literary poetry, but I mean, some might call it light verse, but it was like minimalist, imagist, and we were good. I mean, we got on the Barnes and Noble shelves through one of these New York-based publications, who's also had on. I mean, they had a dude from Sonic Youth. They had some of the big motherfuckers on, and so I mean, we've been in what's that? Bukowski. We've been published in the same journal as Bukowski, and so like we're serious about it. But like some people would think it's light verse, and that's just offensive. And so like we're thinking about putting some together and putting it on Amazon. Like, are you on Amazon, and what can you teach me about getting your poetry on Amazon?
I should be on Amazon, but I hold myself to impossible moral purity standards.
So it's ethically tricky to be on Amazon. You're kind of supporting the machine.
Right. So I've just been self-publishing. I get them all sent to my house and then individually ship them, which is truly a logistical nightmare for someone with ADHD. And not really that profitable, but like it's more about getting it out there. I'd rather be obscure and
do your thing.
Yeah. I mean, I would sell out if someone wrote a number on a napkin and slid it over to me and there's enough zeros, I would sell out, but like I haven't,
I just hope, like, if you didn't see the zeros, that'd be hilarious. You're like, the important part to me is that it's a number is written on there and slid across to me. It's got to be on a napkin, it's got to be slid. I don't care the number on it, but once they do that, I'll sell out, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Because you also collected your tweets. Like, what gave you that idea? How did you narrow them down? Like, if you tweet like some of my guests, I mean, you just rack up hilarious tweets that I retweet all the time. So then I've got to read your book, which is when they look at my profile and they'll see me retweet your shit in the future. But how did you kind of pick the funniest ones? And was there kind of a common thread to them? I would think that if you start collecting your tweets, you might be like, oh shit, I didn't even know there was a common thread to my funniest tweets.
I tweet too much. Many people have said this.
Good.
And I mean, I probably tweet about 90% of the things I think of tweeting.
Good.
And about 10%, I'm like, I don't think they're ready. That stays in the drafts. But
you don't think your audience is ready?
I don't think I'm ready to be canceled.
Oh, okay.
Not that like I'm saying anything truly that bad, but it's Twitter. They're gonna take you with the worst faith reading they can possibly take you. So,
Yeah.
The book I made that was like She Tweets on My Joke Till I Zine is literally just riffs of that format. Because one of my friends realized that I had tweeted that format like, I don't know, like 50 times. And so I collected
Oh,
them.
it's that
Yeah.
format tweet.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a riff on the like she blanked on my blank till I blank.
Yeah, it's usually very sexual. So are all your tweets not like, are they all sexual, or did you find some really interesting ways to kind of complete that format?
I mean, some of them are definitely more sexual, and a lot of them are just like absurdism.
Good.
I had another one in the works. Let me see if I can find what it was.
You're saying a book centered around a format tweet?
Yeah.
Okay.
God. It might have been like Blanker, I Hardly Know Her, or something like that. It was just another one of those stupid, just like when I riff, sometimes I just find a riff that I like and I go at it obsessively for months. And then I realize, oh, I've done so much of this. Let me just collect it.
So sometimes that's appreciated. Like I mean, after a while, we could probably, I don't know, maybe skim those. But I mean, sometimes you caught lightning in a fucking bottle. Like, I don't care if you did 90% shit tweets in the same fucking format. Like, if that 100th tweet was amazing, I'll still retweet it. I still appreciate it, and I'll still repeat it to people I know.
Right. And that's honestly, that's what I'm going for is
yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, a lot of people are so afraid to tweet something bad that doesn't get any reactions, doesn't get any likes. And it's like, fine, then don't. But like, if you don't tweet, you're not going to hit.
Yeah.
You have to keep swinging.
And you better tweet it so you can fucking forget it. Like, just fucking tweet it. It's a writing exercise. Tweet it. If it does something cool, I mean, you really need to forget it so you can get that next tweet on the front of your brain. Like, by tweeting it, you took it from the front of your brain, put it to the back of your brain, and you're going to forget it. And then you're on to funnier shit. And that's what I love. And you might even stumble on new formats. Like, so what do you think about like format tweeting in general? What is your thoughts on, like, having viewed other people's less than hilarious format tweets? What do you think about it as as kind of a viewer rather than a writer?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like saying, like, I mean, to me, it's not about is it good or bad. It's a medium, right? Yeah. And there's going to be people who excel at it, and there's going to be people who are fucking hacks, and there are people like me who are willing to be fucking hacks because they think they'll hit gold.
Yeah.
And that's it runs the gamut. I think that it's really fucking funny to me though when people get mad about like joke plagiarism when it's become like one of those formats.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember. What was his name? Like Dustin Couch or something. He had a joke like NASA employee like cocks gun, and the NASA guy's like, where are you going? He's like, moon's haunted or some shit like that. And at one point that format became like really popular and everyone was doing different riffs on it.
Okay.
And I did one about like fucking Luigi's Mansion. So it was like Cox vacuum, as Luigi and whatever. And like 40 different people responded saying like, oh, that's plagiarized. You stole that joke. I'm like,
what? Did somebody else do that, or is just a format one? If it caught on, everybody should be flattered. Like, but if somebody else did Luigi, that's problematic, but nobody else did, right?
I mean, I'm sure someone else did, but not that I saw.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, there's millions of people on here. And if your joke doesn't go viral and mine does, I didn't steal it.
So it did really well. And are you saying that these people were upset they used a format, period? Or are they saying that they had seen a Luigi one?
I think maybe some of them had seen a Luigi one or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, parallel. Yeah, it's like, are you kidding me? Like, especially the tweet you mentioned, like, she blanked on my blanket till I blank. Like,
right,
there's gonna be 40,000 of those things. Yeah.
Yes,
and it's like
sometimes. Yeah, exactly. Everyone starts thinking in that format.
Yeah,
and you go through the vast majority of what that can be.
Yeah,
and it's fine if a couple people do the same one. I ended up doing another joke that was just like some fucking riff on like Kafka. I don't even remember what the fucking joke was. And then another girl made the same joke like literally 8 hours later, and then mine blew up, and everyone started accusing her of plagiarism.
And you're like, chill the fuck out.
I ended up like blocking people who were trying to defend me, and I was like, okay. I didn't ask for that. Like, fuck you guys. Yeah. People can make jokes. there's no one's stealing anything. Like,
Yeah,
we're having fun.
Yeah, that's what, this is comedy Twitter. We should be kind of having fun with this. But like, there's actually a comedian that who's been on the podcast, and of course he's very fun and he's fairly successful. But occasionally I see him or her or they jump to like call out, and I guess a couple guests have done this, call out plagiarism. People stealing.
I don't believe
their shit,
and
for me it's a little cringe.
Is it?
Like, I understand. Like, our shit got stolen. Like, we did a comedy video about Chasing Waterfalls, the song. We were like, it was Jason Waterfalls, so we had Jason Waterfalls get on there. Jesse Vandenberg, he's like, I'm Jason Waterfalls, man. They took that song of me, right? And I knew this girl, and then like 5 seconds later, like this huge account. It was such a big account. Her name was like Rachel. Like, that was her handle.
Right.
And she's never had an original thought in her life. All their other stuff is not funny at all. And like 8 hours later, I see a tweet about Jason Waterfalls. Like, she's like, oh yeah, I always thought it was Jason Waterfalls. I'm like, it could be plagiarism. Like, absolutely. But who the fuck cares? Like, it makes me look bad going after it. Like, she's a dumbass. If she really, like, with parallel thought, I have nothing to say. And if she's a dumbass who has no original funny thoughts, it's like, that's on her. Like, I look shitty for going after this unoriginal person. And that's what I think every time I see a comic really leap to the defense of their originality. It's like, come up with another fucking joke, right?
Right, because she's never going to be able to. If she stole the joke, she doesn't have it. She's gonna fade away.
Yeah, I mean, she'll still be Rachel on Twitter, and she'll still have her own original thoughts. But like, comedy is not really her thing. So let's give her this one. Let's just kind of think of a new fucking joke. And so I guess, like, you use the word hack. Like, we're hacking away. Like, as a comedian on stage, I think you're just kind of hacking away. Like, you're like, okay, here's about 20 things I think are funny. So I'm kind of hacking away at the attempted laughs, and 10 of them work. And so does that make you a hack for the 10 that didn't work? Like, what is a hack to you? Is it somebody like that woman who stole a tweet because she's got nothing else? Is it people who are kind of incapable of original thought?
I mean, if it's an imprecise wit, right? It's just repetitive motion. It's like
the etymology of hack, right?
Yeah. So, like, if you go to a doctor, you want someone with a nice scalpel who's going to get in there clean and you're going to be fine, instead of someone who's going to fucking cut your arm off and say, here you go. Like,
I fixed the problem because I cut the arm off.
I cut the arm off. That fixed it. And like, it's a level of nuance where, like, sure, like, technically it was funny, or sure, technically you did a surgery, but like, that's not what I paid for. That's not what I was looking for.
I love that. And so when you go to see a comedian, you're really hoping that they'll have the scalpel rather than the hacksaw or whatever. Because you're like, I don't want to see this person just kind of riff on nothing for half an hour if I get one laugh. I'd rather that person kind of have a precise approach and be able to kind of hone the craft to the point where they're really targeting their jokes to somebody like me in the audience.
Exactly. Much like surgeons, I think comedy requires a level of God complex, of just really believing that you can do anything and that you're the best at what you're doing, which is like, yeah, it's narcissistic or whatever, but like, when it's true, it's true. Like, there is someone who's the best, right? Yeah. Like, and that's who you want to go see.
So like, who's the best? Who's the best? Who do you want to go see?
Right now, honestly, Girl God is the best comedy that I've seen live in like the last 5 years.
Who? Girl God?
Yeah, Girl God. It's Grace Freud and April something. I don't even know her last name. They're like a trans comedy duo.
Okay. Girl God.
Yeah, I don't even know if they have an account as Girl God, but like, yeah, they're on their like second tour, and I've seen them like 3 times in the past couple of years, because every time they're in New York, I'm like, I have to see them.
Yeah, they just do Grace Freud and April Clark.
Yeah, April Clark. God, how do I not know her last name? They're both like really funny individuals, but they just have that it factor when they're together, riffing and joking.
So is it dueling stand-up?
I mean, honestly, like, they do like bits with like fucking PowerPoint shows. They'll have crazy guests on. They had the first time I saw them, they had Sarah Squirm.
Wow.
Right before she got on SNL, or right as she was getting on SNL. It was just like wild to like just see like them pulling these crazy guests. And they're just like, they'll do the most out there shit. they had this bit the first time I saw them where it was like they're going to teach someone in the audience how to do stand up, but they ended up like
Oh,
they tricked some random little cis girl into saying tranny multiple
oh,
times.
oh
It was the
no! And then did they
funniest
go?
fucking.
They go after her then?
Of course, of course.
Oh
It was
gosh,
so.
that's
It was
mean.
just
How
like,
old was this girl?
I mean, probably in her early 20s. You know,
Oh,
like she
okay,
was,
okay,
you know,
gosh. I thought you meant
whatever.
like a
Like
12-year-old or whatever. God,
no, no.
that
This is
person's
very
never
much
touching a stage again.
for adults. You know, like it's
Okay,
at bars and shit. But it
okay.
was just like, it was truly just so subversive and so fresh. They have a whole bit about how they're the ones who are writing all of Chappelle's transphobic jokes.
Oh, yeah, I saw some in Chappelle references, so that's so
Yeah,
funny though. But
yeah.
yeah, so like that's like that joke was okay. Now when I heard that, I was like, okay, I was watching Chappelle. I don't think he's that funny. Okay. Like I saw Kevin Hart first and I was like, Kevin Hart has high energy. I love him, right? He's one of my top four. And then I watched Chappelle and I was like, he is so low energy. Like, why does everybody love this guy? But I'll watch it for research because everybody loves this guy. I think they think he's the greatest of all time. And then he comes
He's
around and
smart. He's smart and he's a good writer. And
yeah,
he
but then
chose
he's
to.
taught, but yeah, but I mean, but he's doing it from experience normally. Like he's doing it
Yeah,
from
exactly.
the black experience, and he's met one trans person, and that person was Caitlyn Jenner, probably. And so, like,
Yeah,
he's doing all this generalizing about the LGBT community in a car, and
yeah,
then he's talking about trans individuals, and like as in such a general way, not from a place of experience. And I'm like, why is this guy doing this at all? Like, so even at the time, like I was shocked that anybody else was pissed, because I was like, who else is going to notice this? But I was like, why is he being so general and not born of experience? He's losing his formula for success, right? Like,
yeah.
what did you think when you saw it? Like, did you like? First of all, did you see it? Second of all, did you think anybody would be shocked? And were you more like, this is just lazy writing, right?
It's lazy and it's pandering. And it's the thing that happens when you get so famous that you don't have to be good anymore. If a
Yeah,
comedian goes on stage and doesn't say anything and people start laughing, that's when you know they don't have to be funny anymore because
yeah,
they've won the audience over without saying anything.
yeah.
And
Like Mark Maron came out, he's like, God is dead. Everybody started applauding.
yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. And
that's not
that's
really what you want. You found your
no,
people, thank God. But my gosh, how is that? I
yeah.
mean, people aren't laughing. You started your thing out like that. That just shows you're more of a celebrity than a comic.
Right. The second you don't need a punchline to get a laugh, you're not a comic. Whatever, but being a trans woman isn't like the easiest thing on earth.
Okay.
um Obviously there are things that are hard about it.
There are things that
um
are easier. Obviously, there are
uh
things that are easier than me. Right? Like meaning, I'm saying
yeah,
it's probably very, very difficult. Like I just had on Danny Lang, and we were talking about whether or not the queer fest in Columbus would be queer enough, and so we were naming the four horses of the apocalypse, and I was like, okay, if they're queer, what would be the four horses? What would their names be? And he's like, well, one of them would be poppers, and the second would be, but then he came up with resilient, like meaning to be a queer person, you have to be kind of resilient, and of course that's similar with comedy. You also have to be resilient, and so
yeah.
yeah, so you go ahead as a trans person.
Well, okay, for instance, I last month I was invited to be on two podcasts.
Okay.
The first podcast was you, and I'm here, and I'm having fun. It's a good time.
Yay!
The other guy was just like this random guy who I had never heard of. And I looked into his podcast. He was just like a weird little dude who like interviewed local sports people in fucking England mostly. And like, I don't know why he was interested in me.
Yeah, he's like,
I was
let's
like,
get Hannah Hudson on, who's a comedian
yeah,
poet.
yeah. I was like, I don't know what the fucking deal is, but okay. Like, I mean, I'm not going to turn down exposure probably. So I
Okay.
said, sure. And then like the next day, he was like, hey, are you trans? I was like, yeah, I am. And he just fucking didn't respond for like 2.5 weeks.
What?
And then in the middle of the night, I get another message after this fucking dead silence for 2 weeks where he's just like, hey, are you uncut or cut? And I'm just like, this is
What?
like you're just fetishizing me. That's
Yeah, but he didn't even have it on the podcast. Like,
no, I didn't go on the podcast. It was
oh,
just
you
like
just didn't go? Did he didn't still want you on?
he didn't actually fucking after I told him I was trans, he was like, no, like he didn't tell me no. He just disappeared until he was gonna fucking say random sexual shit to me that you
Oh,
wouldn't say to a stranger, I would think.
I just don't get it. Like unless like he wanted you on to talk about trans stuff. That's like the
Right.
only hook I would think for somebody. Like he's a sports guy and you're a comedian poet, and so
Yeah,
like if he's not
I
interested
have
in either of
no
those things,
idea
then it would have
how
to
he
be the
even
trans.
found me.
Yeah, that is
That's what,
bizarre.
but that's what I'm saying. Is like everything you do is like this weird game of social Russian roulette where it's like
Yeah.
either it's gonna be fine or you're gonna get fucking
Somebody will ask you if you're cut or not.
yeah. Like the last time I did an open mic, I went into the city and it was like one of the best nights of my life. I was on such a fucking high from the experience, and then I went home and got fucking assaulted on the subway. It's just like, oh right, I'm a woman now. Like,
Oh
I can't be on
no.
the train alone. So it's a mess. But it gives me perspective. It gives me a voice. It gives me the ability to say tranny, all important things.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like we established pre-pod, like I have to ask people things like,
Right? Like, what can you say?
yeah, what? Yeah. If you're saying you're a marginalized community, which one is that? And the guest goes, "Oh, I'm a woman in comedy." I'm like, okay, I guess
Okay.
that's marginalized. I guess we can talk about it. But like, yeah, say if there's a person of color and they look, I don't really see the color. I'm like, are you a person of color? And they're like, oh, sure. I'm this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God we can talk about it then. Yeah. But that's so funny. Are you cut or uncut? Because one of them will let you be on my podcast, right?
Right. It's like, if I'm uncertain, is it maybe it was like not about the trans thing? Maybe it was anti-Semitic. I don't know.
Oh, I love that. It might
knows?
even be anti-Semitic. It's just a guy. He's like, because cut and uncut, circumcised and circumcised is not
Right.
necessarily religion based, and so it's just a
Right.
guy who really likes
Just a random guy.
a cut penis because he thinks
needs that.
circumcision is important,
Yeah. Very
or he
important.
thinks that circumcision is awful and the devil, and he really wants you to be uncut so he can speak to you. That is funny. That's bizarre. The fact that it can go from possibly professional into
to just like absolute
personal, the worst personal
sexual
shit. Yeah.
like just harassment in a second. And like, I mean, I know that technically my existence invites that. It's not like my fault, obviously. I'm not victim blaming myself, but like I know that walking through the world, I will just be contending with that forever. My fucking doctor sexually harasses me, so like whatever.
So you go find a new doctor? Is it such a good doctor? Well, they take my insurance. So.
That's the thing. I had this doctor before him who sucked. She was so kind. She used my pronouns and my name, and she gendered me perfectly, but she wouldn't prescribe me the medicine I needed. And so I found this guy. He's an asshole. Won't use my name. Won't gender me correctly unless he's hitting on me. But he gives me all the pills I need. So it's like you're in a fucking.
You're damned if you
22.
do. Yeah, but it's like there's no doctor out there. I mean, you would think. Like if you ask around, like in the community, like I would think that there should be some good information, some good information sharing on this topic in the New York City. There should be
fucking lists of like, here are the trans friendly doctors. Yeah. I mean, it's all about fucking insurance and who takes what. It's a fucking mess.
Yeah, if you can be trans friendly, but not have your insurance. Who
right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this girl god thing. I'm looking at April Clark's pictures. I'm like, my lord. My fucking Lord, April Clark. Hello, how are you today? You're very talented. You're very talented, of course. Like I can see that from your pictures. I'll shut up now. Okay, so Hannah Hudson, we follow her everywhere. Patreon, Hudline, you're getting the mini chaps. What do you call it? Monthly chaps first? Are you still doing that? I mean, now that you put out Thread Unrolled on
that's on
Gumroad.
Okay. On Patreon. So Gumroad's really my focus right now. But in a couple months, I'm going to be starting back up on Patreon. Probably going to be doing collections of short stories, so we'll see. I like to branch out, I like to dabble. I like writing. I write everything.
Good. I can't wait to see the tweets. Don't censor yourself because we want to see all the funny shit, like even if you're just hacking away. That 10% is going to be worth it.
I just sent you one of my favorite tweets I ever had. There was this fucking bus stop ad.
Oh yeah,
that said, "Let's grab beers tonight, Queens," because it was in Queens. And I just like crossed out a little bit of that end.
You did that.
I did
crossed out the Queens, so it was queers. Let's grab beers tonight, queers, and you go. How can they do that?
Can't they say that? Yeah,
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Generating a little controversy, but I think it's fucking funny, and people went insane.
Edgelord, Hannah Hudson. That's what we tune in for. But so it's Hudline on Twitter, Instagram, but also Hannah Hudson is on Gumroad. Hannah Hudson is on Patreon,
TikTok,
all that stuff.
Tumblr.
Are you doing front-facing videos on TikTok?
I have like mostly poetry stuff there. I have a little comedy stuff in the back, but I don't know. It's hard to build a brand when you're a fucking a jack of all trades.
Yeah, you're a multi hyphenate.
Yeah.
It's just like Kevin Hart was on the CNN New Year's Eve thing. I'm like, this is a little bit low for Kevin Hart because it was Andy Cohen
Right.
and he was there shilling as his drink,
Right.
like his new line of fucking tequila or some shit. I was like, man, Kevin Hart is the hardest working man in show business. Kevin Hart rules. Dave Chappelle is lazy, and Hannah Hudson is wonderful. Hannah Hudson, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me.